we're going to be talking about Stinking Springs and a new historical monument put up by the Billy the Kid Historical Coalition, a event that I was lucky enough, along with Sam, to be a part of and be there. So, Josh, thank you for the invitation for that one. And
Absolutely.
Josh is going to be here tonight to talk a little bit more about the importance of the marker as well as kind of the whole process to get it up because that's important too. It kind of shows you behind the scenes, and it's
Yeah.
not just a beautiful marker that you can look at, but there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that go into putting these things up. So, Josh, how you doing tonight?
I'm good, brother. Been a long day, so yeah, I'm still here. How about yourself, man?
Surviving. We've been pretty busy. Halloween season's been around. We've been cranking out way too much content. I don't know how like other channels do it every day. I'm like, there's no way. This has been
Yeah.
too much. Uh,
No, yeah, I'm the same, man. We've cut it back to one live show a month and just the other stuff in between, and it's still a lot. So yeah, I don't. It would help if I knew how to do it without James's help, but the fact that I don't do it on my own probably makes it worse.
No, it's a whole process. And speaking of processes, it's kind of a good little segue.
Sure.
Tell the audience, I guess, how did you first get involved with the coalition and then Stinking Springs?
Okay. Well, the coalition, like I said, me and my brother formed it back. There's actually three of us at the time. We formed it back in 2021, April of 2021, with the intentions of marking historic graves related to Billy the Kid. And then it was also kind of just a gateway for us to do research and whatnot, and kind of have an official title with that. So, of course, we marked our four graves. I think we've talked about them in the past show. We marked, Jose Chavez, E. Chavez, Tom Pickett, Wendy Cahill, and James Carlisle. There we go. So those are the four graves we marked. So that was obviously, it was very important to me, and it was really cool. But we hadn't marked a historic site yet. Stinking Springs, obviously, it had been on my radar for quite a while. It's a site that means a whole lot to me, and I'll get into that in here in just a little bit. But yeah, Stinking Springs was the first actual non-grave that we'd marked, so it was kind of new territory for me. So I wasn't just completely sure, how to memorialize an event. It's really easy when you're trying to memorialize a person. I mean, everybody knows what a headstone looks like, and everybody knows the common things that you're supposed to say to pay respect. But marking the site was a lot different. So there was a little bit of trial and error with that. When we had kind of, let me back up a little bit. We've kind of been working on it for about 3 years, actually quite a while now. So I'd visited with the property owner a handful of times. And again, I've been going to that site since I was probably 14. And initially, I think he was not in favor of marking it. But then we kind of visited with him again. And for whatever reason, God willing, he changed his mind and actually became very much in favor of marking it. So I think, his parents are the original founders of, I guess, the Billy the Kid Outlaw Gang back in the late 80s. And Stinking Springs was their property. So I think this is probably a way to help pay honor and tribute to them. So maybe that's why he kind of let us finally do it. But yeah, so, back and forth with him over the course of the last 3 years or so, we were finally able to narrow it down, and finally he gave us the go ahead. And we had finished, I guess Tom Pickett was the last grave before that. And we kind of had a little bit of a lull in some of our projects, a couple of the things that we were wanting to do. One of them with you, and then another project on Henry Brown we'd kind of been tossing around. We kind of hit a standstill with those. I was waiting on the Bob Ollinger project. We're still waiting to hear back from the VA on that. So this kind of seemed like a good idea that, we needed to jump on this. Of course, the Grissom family that owned the property originally that first allowed me onto it, the parents had since passed on within a year or so ago. And their son owns the property now. And if he's watching this, I hope I don't offend him, but I'm guessing he's probably in his mid 70s. So I thought, well, we need to get this done before he decides to sell the property or passes or something. So we kind of prioritized it and expedited it. Once we got the go ahead, we reached out to a few of our members and some of our more generous donors, and we got actually quite a bit of interest in marking it. And then Aaron Presley came along, and you got a chance to meet Aaron when you were down at the site. He owns I I don't know what it's called, a rock a rock building company. I think it's he makes signs and all sorts of things out of rock. His company's based out of Waco. So he jumped on board, and he was one of our newer members, and he really wanted to kind of spearhead it. So we let him. He said he was going to be willing to provide a lot of the manual labor. So that was kind of music to my ears. So yes, we let him, and then we kind of started working on the designing of it. Again, that was kind of the tricky part, because I've never put a monument up before. So Aaron was actually really good in helping us kind of decide, and hey, this is what similar projects have done in the past, and yeah. So total, from the time that we got the go ahead from the gentleman to the time we put the monument up, was maybe a 6-month project. So it was time consuming, but it wasn't horrible, I guess.
Right. I mean, good things take time, is the old saying, right? Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, this site is super important, I think, to the Billy the Kid lore and history and legend. And every movie has this scene where Pat captures Billy, and there's the old building that's
Yeah.
no longer there, but you guys were able at least to get that picture on the back of the stone.
Yeah. That was crazy. So when we picked the stone out, or actually Aaron kind of suggested, hey, a stone about this size. I think originally the stone had started out a little bit smaller. I'd say maybe 25% smaller. And then when we sat down and wrote out what we wanted to put on it, as far as the story goes, it was just too much, and it would have made the writing too small. So he's like, well, F it, let's just do bigger. And I was like, all right, it's your dollar, you're the one, funding this for us. So he literally just said, hey, let's make it, this size, this will fit everything. So we did that, and we liked it. And then we kind of tossed back and forth, well, what are we going to put on the back of it? And I think, so that the image you've got in your backdrop, it was originally a postcard of the rock house. I don't know the real date on that. A lot of historians say that postcard came out in the 1930s. I've got the same postcard. I've actually got 2 of the original postcards, and one of them actually is postmarked 1908. So that image is really old. So anyways, I was looking at that, and I said, well, can your guys do this? And he sent it off to his art designer guys, and they felt confident they could do it. And man, it turned out great. So yeah, that's the cool thing about that monument, is you not only get to see the monument, but you get an idea of what the structure looked like that's on the back of it. So man, it turned out great. Every time I do these projects, especially when it's on private property, you're always a little nervous, because property owners are finicky, and you never know if when you tell them it's going to be a small ordeal, and then what do they consider a small ordeal. And when we ran up there with 20, 25 people, I'm like, God, is he going to freak out and think this is too much or whatever? So you're always a little nervous when you deal with private property, but man, it went off without a hitch for the most part. So I was very, very pleased with how it turned out.
Yeah, and the turnout itself was really cool. There was quite a bit of people, and we met a lot of awesome folks that we've become friends with since then. And just to see everyone so excited about land and the history, and like people are walking around there like this might have been where Bowdry died right here, just like putting all the pieces together was super, super cool. And it's definitely different than what you think of it. Like it's much more hilly and easier for Garrett and them to hide than I think it's been portrayed before.
Yeah, really none of the movies have got it right, that I can recall. From The Kid, you've got it as kind of a wooded, almost a forest type environment. Of course, Young Guns shows it up on like a hill, and I don't know. It's none of the movies get it right. I think Gore Vidal's Billy the Kid, it's actually in like a really piney forest. So yeah, to actually see it in person, it's kind of it'll kind of take you back if you've not been there before, because it's just it's just so much different than what the movies portray it. And then to lay on the in the arroyo, and look out across where Bowdry would have stepped out, and visualize how short of a distance that really was. Man, it's powerful. It is for me. I've been to the site. I don't know. This is probably my 8th or 10th time going there, and man, I could sit there for hours and just imagine. It's spiritual almost. I think you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely as far as locations go, it's one. the only time I think I've taken so many pictures of the same location, because I just kept taking over it, was the Dealey Plaza, because it's like,
Yeah.
you hear about it so much, and then you're there, and you're like, "Wow, this is where all this went down," and like you said,
Mhm.
this shot for Boundary wasn't very far.
No.
Arroyo was perfect hiding place, because when we went down in it, like, it hit us, like, you couldn't see us,
Yeah.
so it makes sense how they sat there for a couple days.
Yeah, I mean, really, you couldn't have set it up better as far as Garrett's concerned. There's just no, if you're the kid, there's nowhere really to go, and it would have just been, easy pickings had they, tried to make a run for it because there's just nowhere to go. And that's for me. That's when I go to a lot of these sites, that's what like if you look at Tombstone, for example, or Dodge City or Deadwood. It for me, anyways. I have a hard time getting a good visual and a good feel for what the history was there because there's just so much commercialization to it, and there's people everywhere, and there's new structures, and um, and that's the awesome thing about most Billy the Kid sites. Maybe outside of like Santa Fe or Vegas, maybe is they're all pretty much exactly how Billy would have seen it, and you can stand out in that rock cut foundation and look out we know right where the door's at where Boundary stepped out of, and you can stand in that doorway, and it's what you're seeing at that time is exactly what he saw, right before he took that round. It's just, man, it gives me goosebumps every time I stand there. It's crazy because you're seeing exactly what he saw, and that's what's really powerful for me.
Yeah, no, kinda going off that, Billy's probably one of the few historical figures where we can really do that with.
Hmm.
Um, Maybe Jesse James and the fact if you go to the Birthplace Museum,
Right.
um, but outside of that, a lot of these places, like you said, are built up or been remodeled, so it's not you're not seeing what they saw,
Yeah.
and it was very powerful. I mean, everyone was almost lost for words, and the ceremony was very beautiful, so I thought you did a good job, and, of course, you dedicated it to
Hmm.
somebody, and as
Yeah.
well as the video on Chasing Billy. Do you wanna describe or talk about
You
why
know,
you dedicated it there?
Sure. So, we've all got our stories and how we got into this. And, like I've said before, I grew up, I was born in Amarillo, Texas, but shortly thereafter I moved to northern New Mexico, and we had a ranch, about 45 miles north of Las Vegas. So I've kind of grew up in that area. So I've always, kind of like Christianity, there was never a time where I didn't know what being a Christian was. And there's never a time where I didn't know who Billy the Kid was, from as little as I can remember. So, I didn't really have that aha moment like most people do on Young Guns. I just always enjoyed the history. And anyways, as I got older, I went to the Plaza in Las Vegas, and there was a bookstore there by the hotel at the time. It's since closed, and I bought a book called Billy the Kid Quiz by Alan Barker, and it was just a little bitty book, nothing fancy, but it was kind of it was laid out in a very very elementary type level, not the material itself, but just the readability of it. It was a very friendly read, and I was probably only 11 or 12, probably not even that old, maybe 10 at the time. So I bought that book, took it home, read it cover to cover in like 2 hours, which for a 10-year-old kid to read a book like that, that's pretty impressive. I I had a book on Return of the Jedi that took me like 8 months to read, so I was pretty impressed with with how quick I read that, and man, I was just hooked. But at the front of the book, the introduction was an author introduction, and the guy's name was Alan Barker. And, this was 1990, maybe 192 at the time. So, and at that time, he was an old man. He was probably, I'm guessing here, maybe early 80s at the time. So he had a little thing on there, said, if you have any questions or whatever, write me and I'll write you back type deal. And again, this was pre-internet. This was pre-internet, well, I guess internet's the word I'm looking for. So I started writing the guy, and because I wanted to know if Billy the Kid had ever been north of Las Vegas, because I lived just north of a little town called Mora, New Mexico, in Colfax County. Anyways, he responded right away. Of course, back then it took 2 weeks to exchange letters, but he responded right away. And to kind of make a long story short, man, I was 12 I don't know, 10, 11, 12 at the time, and I corresponded with him regularly. Eventually, when email became a thing, and then phone calls, and we kept up with each other until I was probably in my early 30s. I lost track of him, with life and whatnot. And when I went to follow back up on him a few years ago, he actually lived to be, I think, 116 years old, and he died in a nursing home. So anyways, he kind of served as a mentor for me. He guided me on a lot of Billy the Kid trips that I took. He gave me a lot of information on historic sites. I think that's kind of where I got my passion for it. He's actually the only one that I know of that's ever been to the exact location of Fritz Springs, where McNabb was killed and Billy and Co and all them were ambushed. To this day, I don't know of any other historian that's been there. I went there about a few years back based on his directions and instructions. So, yeah, he just always has been really special to me. So he wrote that first book, Kid Quiz, and then he wrote the second Billy the Kid Quiz book. And funny story, I was going to Fort Sumner to see the kid's grave, and I don't know at the time, I was probably 15 maybe. I wasn't even driving yet. I remember that. And I bought the Billy the Kid Quiz 2 book, and I was looking at it on the drive back. I think my dad was driving. I was sitting in the passenger seat, and we were heading back to Amarillo from Fort Sumner. And anyways, I didn't know it, and I'm thumbing through it. And anyways, you go to page 69 of the book, and there's a picture of me that I'd sent him as a kid squatting by the kid's grave. I was completely, for a kid enamored with Billy the Kid to actually be in a Billy the Kid book at the time, that was absolutely huge. I was just stunned. So, from there on, I was hooked. And like I said, we got to be pretty good friends. I mean, it was always kind of a grandfather type relationship. But yeah, so his claim to fame at the time, to kind of circle back around to what we started, his claim to fame at the time was, and I've actually got it right here. It's he was in True West magazine, and this is a 1989 issue, and he refound this Stinking Springs location. So I talk about it just a little bit in the dedication speech, but I kind of cut it out because it was hot and everybody was already tired of standing there. But basically, there's about a 20-year time period that we kind of lose track of where it's at, and nobody goes there, and we just kind of forget about it. So basically, Jarvis Garrett, we have photos of Jarvis Garrett, Pat Garrett's youngest son, going to the site in 1979, which is my birth year. So that was 44 years ago. So that's crazy. So Jarvis Garrett goes to it in 79, and then nobody else can find it after that. There's no historians going there. There's no photos of it. There's no images of it. So Alan Barker started looking for it in the mid 80s again, and made several trips out there because he was from the New Mexico area. And again, to shorten this story, him and his son, Ren Barker, who I'm still currently talking to, relocated the site. At the time, it was pretty much completely covered up. The rock foundation that you saw there that day had been covered up for the most part, and they relocated it, I want to say in 1987, if I remember right. Kind of excavated the site a little bit to bring up the foundation to where it's visible like you see it today. And then they erected a highway marker, one of those ugly brown tourist markers you see on New Mexico's highways. They erected one of those about 5 miles down the road from it. And of course, it's since been torn down or it's disappeared. So anyways, that was his claim to fame, was refinding Stinking Springs. So I just kind of thought, what an awesome tribute if I can go back out there, permanently mark the site, and kind of honor the work that he did. Because had he not found it in 1987, again, relocated it, we probably would have no idea where it was today. So without him and his dedication to that, I have no doubt that we would have no idea where that site was at. So yeah, so that's kind of one of the reasons why I dedicated it to him. I still am in contact with his children. They're, again, if they're watching, I apologize. I'm going to guess they're probably in their late 70s or 80s. Very nice people. They have, we talked about this on our show, and we'll start advertising it pretty soon, but they went through their garage at my request and found that their dad actually self-published his books, the 2 quiz books, and then he wrote a novel called The Kid with Fast Hands. And it's my favorite Billy the Kid novel. And I don't really like Billy the Kid novels, but it's really good. Anyways, they found in their garage, or a shed, probably 75 to 100 boxes of these books. And if you try to find these books on eBay right now, they're almost non-existent. But so they found, I don't know, there's probably 950 copies of each book. So they've mailed me a lot of those. So we're about to start redistributing those books and getting those out there again. So I'm pretty excited about that. So yeah, like I said, Alan Barker, I would definitely consider my mentor in this. I probably would not be doing this today had he not taken the time to painfully explain what was probably obvious to him, but to an idiot 10-year-old kid like me, it was brand new information. So yeah, so that's what got me to where I'm at, and that's really what inspired me to mark that site.
Well, I know a comment I heard while I was out there, and I won't say who said it, uh, but they said it was really cool to see the youthful energy out there at the ceremony.
Hmm.
And I mean, that's important in history is passing it down and getting younger generations,
Yeah.
interested. And so that entails obviously if you mark the sites,
Hmm.
it keeps that history alive.
Hmm. You know, yeah, and that's one thing that I'm really proud of some of the work we've done because we've collaborated with we do a lot of stuff with you guys, and I never thought I would say I'm young because right now my back hurts and I've got a headache and I don't feel young, but relatively speaking, in the world of Billy the Kid and the Old West and just history in general, we're definitely the young kids on the block. So. I'm really proud of a lot of the work we've done with you guys. John LeMay, we do a lot of stuff with John. I'm not going to say his age, but he's just a little bit younger than I am. James Mills, James Mills is a young guy like we are. So I'm really excited to see that Billy the Kid is getting some new life, some younger blood. We try really hard to find what connects to the younger generation. I work in a high school most times. I'm assigned to a high school here in town. So I try really hard to figure out what there is about this stuff that would make high school kids interested. And I've not quite broke into that group yet because I can, but just the fact that we got guys like us that are in their 30s and 40s that are enthralled in this is really cool because this is definitely an old man's game. No offense to the old men because they're how we got here, but it's really cool to see some younger people that are passionate about this stuff because that means it's going to go on for a lot longer.
Yeah. No, and James and Josh or James and John are both really good guys.
Yeah.
I mean, on our way back, I was talking with Sam, and I was like, "Man, if we hadn't met John that year in Roswell,
Hmm.
probably none of this would have happened." Because like he's been like how we've been able to meet everyone because we'd find out he worked with someone, so we'd reach out
Yeah.
to them, and yeah, it's really cool, and there's a good community being built. You guys do a good job with the Facebook pages.
Yeah.
Now, something that popped up, and I don't know if you answered it, but I saw on one of the I don't know if it was YouTube comment or Facebook, someone asked about archaeological digs and if
Hmm.
they found any like remnants of perhaps from Billy or anything like that.
I'm trying to get that site specifically or just in general.
Yeah. No, at
So,
Stinking Springs.
so I know. I mean, I know the site has been worked. Man, I could be wrong about this. I believe Drew Gomer went out there quite a while back, maybe in the early '90s, and kind of ran a metal detector over it and looked around a little bit. I mean, I'm certain he did. Whether he was the first, I'm not sure. I had another pretty well respected historian tell me the other day. He's kind of finicky, so I don't want to name his name just in case he doesn't want it out there. But he told me that there were a couple guys that went out there probably around the same time and really hit it hard with metal detectors and found a lot of spent shell casings and rounds and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, if you went out there now, what would you find? I don't know. Probably not a lot. That Arroyo there, I'm sure with flooding, it's washed away a lot of stuff over the years. The rock house itself, as you remember, kind of sits on a little bit of an elevated plane. So I think that's why it's, I'll say, done so well. There's nothing but a foundation there. But the fact that the foundation is still there and that's not really shifted or moved much and is still on a pretty flat plateau is probably because of the way it's set. So whether you could find anything there or not, but I mean, I would imagine that's been pillaged over a few times. Excuse me. I remember going out there a few years back, and I don't know, it wasn't that long ago. It was one of my last few visits I've been out there, and the corner of the inside of the foundation where Billy would have laid and stacked all their weapons up against, like you read in Paco's account, you see it in the movies. Anyways, that there was a hole, a fresh hole dug, maybe a foot and a half, 2 feet down. I don't know if somebody came out there and thought they would, because supposedly, as the story goes, Billy, threw some counterfeit bills and a pistol in a bag and threw it down in the hole. And then, I guess he came back later. And then, of course, we've had accounts from Tom Pickett that in the 1915, 1920s, he sent somebody out there to try and retrieve it and it was gone. So I don't know if a modern day souvenir hunter thought they'd get lucky or what, but yeah, I saw that a few years ago when I went there. But like I said, I don't know if you would actually find anything now or not.
Well, and how has this been received by the whole community, like historical community? Because I saw you guys got the article shared in the newspaper,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like, how has the rest of the community taken the
You know,
monument?
it's early, but now that you mention it, I haven't thought about it till now. But this is the first thing that we've done that we have not yet gotten any any flack over it. Every grave we've done, and I'm sitting here thinking now in my head, every grave we've done, there's been issues somebody's had. We didn't mark it, we didn't write the right thing. The headstone's not the right period. We shouldn't have put dedicated by and our name on it. There's something. I think even Wendy Cahill people bitched because he was a bully and he shouldn't be recognized. So there's always somebody that critiques you, but so far we've been really lucky. I was worried at first, honestly, that the monument was too big, so I thought maybe some people would object to the fact that it made it overly visible. Honestly, when I first set out to market, when I talked to the property owner, my intentions were to do a ground level marker similar to like you see where it marks where Bell and Ollinger died, or like you see by the graves in Fort Sumner. That was my intention, and then we just like kids, our emotions got the better of us. And when I was with Aaron and we were talking about monuments, it's just bigger the better, and we just kept, So when we rolled up and we first laid eyes on that monument, honestly, I was like, shit, this guy, the property owner, is going to lose his mind because I promised him a little nonchalant, discreet marker, and we're rolling up there with the freaking Berlin Wall. So I was a little worried, but so yeah, that was my main complaint, or my main concern, was that people were just going to object that we made the site too visible. But I think, in my opinion, I don't know if you agree, but I think once you put it there and you kind of step back, and it blends into the terrain so well that I don't think it's going to cause any issues with that.
Yeah, from where we parked, and I took a picture of it, so I can put it up on the screen here. But if you didn't know where it was, you would almost think it was just part of the landscape
Yeah,
because it's
absolutely.
the perfect color and everything.
Yeah.
It's made to look like it's, been worn a bit as
Mm-hmm.
well. So it blends in, I thought, really well.
Yeah, it really does. And Aaron, the one that designed the monument, his business, he got it perfect. I don't know how he did it. I don't know if he just looked at online photos, but because those rocks, and I was kind of ignorant about that, but it'll show a little bit about it in the Chasing Billy video that we put up today. But those are man-made rocks. I had no idea. I literally just thought they had a big rock, and like the Flintstones, they chisel and make it. But yeah, that's all man-made. And tan and tinted and all that to match the color you want. So yeah, he matched it perfectly. It literally looks like part of the terrain, which is good because I want people to see this and visit it, with permission and whatnot. But I also didn't want something so painfully obvious that you would just start getting random people off the interstate. Well, it's not really an interstate, but off the highway coming in and messing with it. So I think we kind of got the perfect mixture of, hey, this is pretty easy to find now, but you kind of have to still know where you're looking a little bit to get to it.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of a hike from where you park, but
Yeah, not bad though.
I thought you guys did an awesome job. Like, it's beautiful. We've seen, obviously, your other work, but this was super cool, and again, we thank you for, inviting us to go out there and spend time with you guys and
And
be
it was a
part of
lot of
that ceremony.
it was. I wish we could have gone and kind of done some more stuff afterwards, but it was kind of one of those quick 2 day trips. And yeah, it did. It turned out good though, man. Like I said, you just never know how those things are going to play out. And being the first actual monument that we've done, yeah, I wasn't really sure. And again, we had a couple people. One guy came from Oregon. I think another one came from Arkansas. So, people travel and fly in, and, there's a lot of time and money and effort put into it by other people that are coming to see it. So you kind of feel this sense of you got to deliver, and, you feel bad if you can't. So, man, I couldn't have been happier with how it worked out. Everything was perfect.
Well, and now it'll be there 140 years from now. People can still at least go look and
Mhm.
see where it happened. By then the foundation might be gone, but the monument will be there.
And I want to touch on that real fast because that's one thing that a lot of people have talked about. Hey, which again I totally agree. What's the old saying? Take nothing but pictures and leave nothing but footprints. And I agree totally. And a lot of people have been critical of that, saying, "Hey, the site's slowly disappearing, and people are going in and taking rocks away." I've been going. I'm 45 right now, and I think I went when I was 13 or 14 the first time. It looks the same to me. I mean, whether or not people took rocks away initially, maybe. I'm not saying they haven't, but as you can see, I mean, there's big rocks like embedded in the. I question how much people have actually taken away from that site. Some of the early pictures, I think we've got Fulton in the 1920s that's standing at the site, and it looks pretty much like it does now, and that was in the 1920s. So I don't think it's as big a problem as we think, but yeah, we'll see. Hopefully the foundation, what's there, will stay there. Again, that's pretty much what's been there for the last 30 years that I've been going. So hopefully, if you're watching this, don't steal shit. Leave the rocks alone, please.
Yes, leave the rocks alone. Let other, further generations be able to go there and appreciate it as well.
Yes.
But yeah, no, it was exciting and it's super cool, and I can't wait to see what you guys do next because I know you guys are, busy with a bunch of projects, much like.
Yeah, man, I don't even know. Yeah, we've got, really honestly right now we've got some research projects that we're trying to tighten up. I know we're working on a couple things with you guys. As far as the next physical marker, we're actually, which will lead me into a real quick plug. We're going to put a marker at the Ellis House. Aaron Presley and his business is going to mark that. Again, obviously we know where the house is, but it's such a beautiful structure and it's a historic building and it's registered and all that. So we're going to put a really pretty stone in front of it that talks about the Ellis House and the history. So we're going to do that this April at our big coalition bash that we're putting on, that we're still organizing. So while we're talking about it and all that, we haven't officially set a date just because I don't want people to buy tickets yet or plane tickets or anything. It'll be free, but yeah, so that'll be probably our next big project as far as something tangible that you can see and sit down and look at. After that, we've still got a couple more graves. Henry Brown's on our radar. Yeah, a couple other surprises out there that we're kind of sitting on right now, just because you kind of have to, even though we're not gatekeepers, you kind of have to keep your research to yourself until you're ready to reveal it, because people tend to try and screw with what you do, I've learned. So yeah, man, we've got a lot of fun stuff. I'm excited.
I mean, you said don't book your tickets, but I already booked tickets for my birthday weekend out there. So April 17th. No, you just let us know. We'll be out there.
Yeah, we're looking, and again, don't anybody book plane tickets yet, but we're probably looking at the last weekend of April. The second to last weekend, I think, is Easter weekend, so we didn't do that one. But the actual last weekend, it's like the 26th, 27th, something like that.
Mhm.
We're going to have live music, barbecue. Aaron Presley, he's also a man of a million talents, and he puts on shows, and he's an event planner and stuff like that. So, like I said, we'll do live music. I'm going to do a couple really cool tours. One tour in particular will be to a site that I can promise you it's going to blow a lot of people's minds that few people have seen. So yeah, it'll be a really fun weekend. So we'll start kind of officially announcing it and advertising it probably around the end of November, 1st of December, once we kind of definitely 100% iron everything out. We're working on bed and breakfast accommodations for everybody and all sorts of stuff. So it'll be a freaking great time. I can't wait. I'm really excited about it. It's kind of a coalition thank you, but of course everybody's welcome and get a chance to see what we're about.
But yeah, going into you just gotta be protective of your stuff because you got to make sure everything's correct. That's the big thing.
Right.
We do a
Right.
lot with dinosaurs, and there's a big conference coming up. There's people leaking the actual papers that have not been peer reviewed,
I know.
and people are flipping out about them. And everyone's like, just wait for the papers, wait for the peer reviews. Nothing's finalized. So the big thing
Yeah.
is just to be correct. That's what everyone strives for. You don't want to put out information if we can't back it up.
Yeah, you're right. And that's, we're going to get off on a whole nother thing here, but you're 100% right. At the coalition, and I think you're the same way because I know how you guys operate and how you research. I don't want to hide anything from anyone. It's just, you just have to be able to vet your sources. And, sometimes there's other people that do safeguard this stuff, and it takes a while to build a rapport with those people, especially when you're dealing with a lot of things that I like to do with historic sites and obscure stuff. Some of these people are really protective about this stuff. So, any safeguarding or whatever of it is literally just to, until the information can be completed and the research is done, because there's just too much of that. That's my main problem with this history and things that have gone on in the past is you just have people sitting on all this stuff, and they want to keep it for themselves, and they want to hog the glory, and they want to do all this. And I just don't care. I mean, there's just so much stuff that just in the 4 or 5 years that we've been extremely active, that we've turned up, that's just set there, that anybody should have found if they would have just given a little bit of effort. Um, let's get this stuff out there. So that's why we do a lot of what we do. It makes some people mad. But in the interest of history, I think ultimately the true historian and the students of history will appreciate that, and the people that don't are probably in this for the wrong reason. So it's all right. I
Yeah.
can live with it.
Yeah, no,
So
I saw that going on this weekend, and I was like, well, see, I got to tell Josh and them, it's not just them, it's other communities.
well,
And they were flipping out, and I'm like, just wait, it's not even been peer reviewed. You weren't supposed to even talk about this yet. That's part
yeah,
of the rules of the
I
SVP is
know.
you're supposed to let it be until it's
Yeah,
provided.
exactly. And we saw that. I've sitting on a bill of sale for about 6 months to a year of Billy the Kid's, not the Tascosa one. Fabulous piece of history that I was keeping to ourselves while we researched it for the property owner's sake. And one of the people we shared it with that was in our circle, that's no longer in our circle, of course, instantly goes and shares it, and kind of screwed up a lot of things that we had going. Probably cost us a couple leads, but it's all right. We'll backpedal and we'll fix it. But that's why you have to kind of be somewhat careful of some of the stuff you do. But at the same time, again, this is not my history. It's not your history. It's just ours to look into and preserve, and then present so everybody can enjoy it. Because man, there's just so much cool stuff out there.
Hmm.
Let's share it. Let's find it. Let's have fun with it.
Right. I mean, my daughter goes to school, wears her Billy the Kid shirt, so hopefully I'm helping. But yeah, outside of, the coalition stuff, I know you're writing a book, and so hopefully your
Right.
writing's going better than mine because Ken, I'm sorry, but I have not been writing. Uh,
No, it's not bad. Yeah, we just finished our coalition press, our yearly magazine. This will be 100 pages. It's going to be huge. It's going to be hardback, like a collector's edition thing. I was complete with the John Poe book. It's been done for a while. Unfortunately, I found a couple things in it that I've had historically are probably not accurate because of some issues I found with a couple of the sources. So I've had to go back and kind of rewrite a little bit of that, but it'll be done in a couple weeks probably. I've got the children's book, a second part. The children's book I just got all the artwork in the mail from Mel today, actually. So we'll start piecing that together by Christmas. I've got a This Day in Billy History chronology book that one of our members, Shane, did for us. It's 160 pages, day by day account, starting in like 1883 or 1823 with the birth of John Chisholm, and ends in like 1953 with the death of Sam Smith. And it'll be a 170 page book when we're done with it, and it's pretty much done now. So man, we've got so much stuff. James and I've got a couple other Agent Wild, all his manuscripts and all his research into the counterfeiting stuff. We've transcribed all that. We've got all that just sitting there that we're waiting to publish. It never ends, man. Me and actually John LeMay have been talking, and we're going to collaborate on a Billy the Kid book on places that Billy the Kid slept, and which sounds dumb, but Billy the Kid slept here. There's a lot of hideouts and lore and all that about locations and caves in and around New Mexico. So we're going to start on that probably the first of the year too. So plenty of stuff to do, more time than I have, or more projects than I have time, I guess.
yeah, believe me, I understand that wholeheartedly. Sometimes, like I said before we got on camera, I was like, I don't know how some of these people do it. Like they're posting every day, and I'm like, man, I wish I had that much time. Like
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, that's same way here. I'm barely able to do what I do.
Right.
So, anyways, man, I appreciate you having me on. This has been a good time. Sorry it took us so long to get it out there and whatnot, but we're glad y'all were part of it, man. Y'all are welcome at every single event we do. You're one of us, and man, we appreciate you guys. Y'all have been our biggest fans. Thank you.
Hey, no, thank you so much for including us. We love history, so to find more people that like it, enjoy it, and want to
Mhm.
preserve it like we do,
Yeah,
was really exciting because it's hard sometimes to find like-minded people. So
very.
just to go out there and try to find the facts is fun, and we
Yeah,
appreciate you guys have shared our stuff, and
absolutely.
hopefully we'll have you back on to talk Young Guns too here shortly. So
We'll do it. We got our live show this Sunday. We've got another pre-recorded show coming up about all this DNA Billy the Kid stuff that's going to blow everybody's mind. So once we get through those over the next couple of weeks, we'll sit down and we'll do the Young Gun show with you guys.
So once again, we want to say thank you to Josh for joining us today and discussing the importance of Stinking Springs as well as the process to get this project put together, but also the invitation from Josh, James, and the coalition to Sam and myself to actually be a part of the ceremony, which was super awesome, and we'll definitely be having a video about that soon. But for now, definitely go make sure to check out the Billy the Kid Historical Coalition. Lots of great stuff and articles, documents, findings on the website, as well as their YouTube, Chasing Billy. Lots of great video and lots of fun information about Billy the Kid and the world that he lived in. But until next time, guys, for more Billy the Kid related content here, check out our playlist to the left. For more about us here at Culz Paranormal, including an interview with Johnny and Helen Holmes of Old Timer Radio, click the link to your right. And don't forget to hit that like and give us a subscribe. And let us know, which movie depiction of Stinking Springs was your favorite? Tell us in the comments below.